You're dying, and you haven't even noticed. It's not your body. It's something deeper, more subtle, more dangerous. Routine consumes you, time slips away, and your soul falls asleep. Do you feel it? That absence of meaning, even with everything apparently in place. This is the slow death of the spirit. And it begins with small signs you ignore. But today you're going to see, you'll understand what you're losing and why there's still time to come back. The invisible death that happens while living. Some people look alive, but they've already left on the inside. And this isn't an exaggeration, it's a fact. This invisible death begins when the soul goes quiet, when routine takes over and days pass like copies of each other. It's like living in a silent loop, where the alarm goes off, the body gets up, but the spirit stays lying down. And the scariest part? Nobody notices, not others, and often not even the person themselves, because this death is discreet, elegant, silent, but devastating. It's the kind of death that doesn't need a coffin, but buries dreams. It disguises itself as normal life. You keep working, posting stories, laughing out of politeness. But inside, something is fading. Remember that project that used to excite you? That urge to move to a different city? Write a book? Learn to play guitar? Yeah. One by one, these desires get pushed aside, and with them goes the spark that made you feel truly alive. And you know what's most treacherous? This death comes in installments. Nobody wakes up one day thinking, I died inside. No, it creeps up slowly. It starts with small compromises, with whatever, with I'll deal with that later. And by the time you realize it, you're already fulfilling obligations without questioning, answering I'm fine without reflecting, and accepting a lukewarm existence. The good news? This can still be changed, but only if the person notices the exact moment they started disconnecting from themselves. The beginning of disconnection. It all starts with an almost imperceptible detail. You stop listening to yourself. You trade what you feel for what you need to do, and then internal silence becomes the rule. It's when you say yes out of politeness, when you wanted to say no with your whole body, when you accept the invitation that drains you, the job that suffocates you, the relationship that erases you. Gradually, your voice becomes a whisper in the noise of the world. And the worst part? You get used to it. Disconnection doesn't arrive screaming. It's subtle, almost gentle. It starts when you ignore that discomfort you feel every Monday, when you mask exhaustion with more coffee, when you settle for less, even though you feel you were born for more. It's the habit of abandoning yourself. And while it might seem like a simple adult duty, the price you pay is steep: your vital energy, your identity, your truth. No wonder so many people walk around as if they've forgotten who they are. There's a simple exercise that can be a game changer. At the end of the day, write down what you did that was truly yours. Not what they asked of you, not what was expected, but what you chose with your heart. Many people freeze at this question. Because when we stop choosing for ourselves, life starts choosing for us. And that's when emptiness settles in. But the most unsettling part is yet to come. The emptiness that no achievement can fill. You might have achieved everything they said was success, and still feel like something doesn't fit. You've got a diploma on the wall, car in the garage, bank account looking okay, but your chest? Empty. Because the spirit doesn't feed on status, it needs meaning. Carl Jung said the greatest tragedy of modernity is the loss of purpose. And this emptiness doesn't choose social class. It reaches the businessman in a suit and the exemplary housewife alike. When living becomes a rehearsed obligation, the soul starts to disappear. Ever notice how some people have everything to be happy, but seem tired of their own existence? It's the kind of fatigue that even vacations can't fix. Because it doesn't come from the body, it comes from the misalignment between what you live and who you are. The problem isn't what you have, but what you stopped being while chasing after it. It's like putting together a giant puzzle, and at the end realizing that the most important piece was yourself, but you lost yourself in the process. the soul screams. But many people prefer to muffle the sound with distractions. New goals, new purchases, new goals again. But deep down, all the spirit wants is to be heard, felt, respected. And if you don't stop to listen, it goes silent. And when that happens, not even applause from the entire world will fill the hole that opens inside you. Time is passing, and it doesn't wait for anyone. Time doesn't wait. The clock doesn't stop, and if you don't notice, it'll run you over. Days slip through your fingers while you say, "Next week I'll deal with that." But that week never comes. Time has no patience for those who live postponing their own truth. And one day, almost without meaning to, you look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back. Someone who kept getting put off for later until they disappeared. Because time collects its debt, it charges dearly, and it charges in silence. Ever notice how childhood seemed to last forever, and now years evaporate? That's the effect of repetition without meaning. Routine packaged in tasks and bills makes everything seem the same. Months turn into years in a blink, and when you realize it, you've let dozens of moments slip by that could have been memorable. A coffee with someone dear, a yes to a trip, a no you should have said. Everything left aside in the name of later on. And there's an important detail. Time doesn't warn you when it's going to end. It just goes. That's why living on autopilot is dangerous. You're not just losing time, you're losing life. And that's even crueler because you only realize it after it's passed. But has it really passed? Or is there still time to listen to what your soul has been trying to tell you for years? The signs that something is wrong. There are days you sleep well, but wake up as if you'd been carrying the world on your shoulders. It's that fatigue that doesn't go away even with rest. Everything becomes an effort. Getting out of bed, facing the day, even answering a message seems like too much. Small things that used to bring pleasure, like listening to a favorite song or cooking something tasty, now go unnoticed. It's as if the colors of the world were fading, and you didn't even know when it started. But these signs don't appear for no reason. The body feels before the mind understands, and it warns you with insomnia, anxiety, energy drops, irritation at odd times. But many people ignore these alerts as if they were normal. It's just a phase, they say, but phases pass. The problem is when the state becomes permanent and the soul, exhausted from not being heard, starts turning off internal switches one by one, until you find yourself functional but without shine, present but absent, breathing but not living. Want a simple test? Answer, without thinking too much, what makes you feel alive? If it took a while to find an answer, you already have your clue. And before you think it's drama, know this. It's more common than it seems. People just don't talk about it, because recognizing these signs takes courage. Courage to face the fact that maybe you're on the wrong path. And courage, as we'll see next, has an emotionally steep price. The cost of living for others. Many people live a life they didn't choose, but believe they did. They chose college to please their parents, got married at the right time because everyone was getting married. Work at a place where they suffocate, but it pays the bills and keeps up appearances. And so, day after day, they mold their own existence around others' expectations. But there's a cruel detail in all this. The more you try to fit into someone else's world, the more you stop existing in your own. The cost of pleasing everyone is high, too high, because it charges your identity. It steals from you what would make you vibrate. And the worst part is, you don't always notice. You keep adapting, fitting in, erasing yourself, until you forget who you were before all this. Have you tried remembering what your dream was before someone said it wouldn't work? Or what your passion was before you decided you needed to be realistic? Yeah, these questions hurt. But they reveal a lot. The truth is that living for others keeps you accepted, but never whole. And this bill always comes due in the form of frustration, stagnation, emptiness. The good news, You can still change this script, but you need to listen to something many have ignored for years, a voice that comes from within and carries a calling that, once awakened, changes everything. The soul's calling. Inside every person exists a voice, not the one that shouts, argues, or repeats what others say. It's a more subtle voice, almost whispered, but it insists. It appears when you're alone, when the world goes quiet, when something doesn't fit even though it looks right on paper. It's that restlessness that arises for no reason. The desire to change everything without knowing exactly what. It's the soul's calling, and it never stops. It just waits to be heard. This voice isn't rational. It doesn't follow logic or spreadsheets. Sometimes it manifests as a recurring dream, a desire that's visited you since childhood, or even unexplained pain. It might be the feeling of being in the wrong place, even when everything seems perfect in others' eyes. It can come while reading a book that gives you chills, like The Power of Now, or listening to a song that seems to speak directly to you. The important thing is to notice it's there. But ignoring this voice has a price paid with apathy, existential fatigue, psychosomatic illnesses. Because the soul's calling isn't a whim, it's the compass to your true path. And when you decide to listen to it, even if you don't yet know what to do with it, something starts moving inside. A movement that, if it continues, can lead you back to who you really are. The art of remembering who you are. Starting over isn't starting from scratch. It's remembering where you got lost. Everyone has been someone lighter, more curious, more authentic at some point. The child who drew without fear of making mistakes, the teenager who dreamed big without caring about realism. That version still lives inside you. It's just buried under commitments, obligations, and labels. Jung called this individuation, the path back to your true self. And this path is less about creating, more about remembering. Many people think changing requires becoming someone else, but true transformation comes from reconnection. Remember what made you lose track of time? What made your eyes shine? It might have been dancing, writing, building things, traveling. And if you don't remember, start with what you miss. Read a book like The Artist's Way. Take a walk alone. Join a random class just for the pleasure of trying something new. Sometimes the spark comes back through something small, and that's already everything. The secret lies in making peace with who you were, not to cling to the past, but to reconnect with your essence. Because it's in that essence where your vitality lives. Routine might try to bury it, but it doesn't erase it. And when you touch that core again, something awakens. And this awakening is just the beginning. Because knowing who you truly are requires a dose that not everyone has. The courage to change. Change requires courage. But not that heroic movie courage, rather the quiet courage of someone who chooses not to betray themselves anymore. It's saying no even when afraid of disappointing. It's distancing yourself from environments that make you sick even if they seem safe. True change begins in the discomfort of realizing you can't continue the same way anymore. And yes, that's scary. But what's scarier is spending your whole life pretending everything's okay when it's not. Many people stay stuck because they wait for the perfect moment to change. Spoiler, that moment doesn't come. There's no ideal day, no cosmic alignment, no universal clearance saying, now you can. Courage is born in the middle of chaos. It's when you decide to move, even while trembling. It might be quitting your job, ending a relationship that dries up your soul, or simply scheduling therapy. Small steps, big revolutions. The soul only revives when you act in its favor. And it's in this movement that everything starts transforming. Because changing on the outside, without changing on the inside, doesn't last. But when the decision comes from the soul, even if it's scary, something aligns, and then the world responds. Circumstances change, new people appear, doors open, But none of this happens before the choice, before the enough. And after it comes something that few people know how to properly value. Small actions, great awakenings. Many people believe that only big changes provoke big transformations, but the soul awakens in the details, in small daily actions that seem simple but carry depth, like reserving 10 minutes of the day just for yourself, or writing in a notebook what you feel unfiltered, or going for a walk with no destination just to hear your own thoughts. Small gestures that say, I'm here with myself. And this has a power that nobody teaches, but everyone feels when they practice it. It's not about dropping everything and going to live in the Himalayas, though that idea does seem tempting on difficult days. The question is, what can you do today with what you have, where you are? It might be listening to music that moves you, rereading a book like Man's Search for Meaning, texting someone who's good for you, or simply turning off your phone for half an hour. When there's intention, even silence becomes medicine. It's the how that heals, not the how much. And the more you practice these small reconnections, the more alive you feel. Because the soul doesn't need spectacle, it needs truth, presence, meaningful choices. And the more you choose with soul, the more parts of yourself return. Gradually, you notice that feeling of being dead inside starts giving way to something new. And that's when a new rhythm begins to emerge. Live with presence, not just in a rush. We live at a pace that swallows the soul. Wake up, run, deliver, respond, fulfill, repeat. Rush has become an addiction. And presence, a rare luxury. But the spirit doesn't survive this trampling. It needs pause, contemplation, silence. When you slow down even just a little, something changes. Hot coffee starts having flavor again. The face of someone dear starts having expression again. Life reveals itself in the details, but only to those willing to see. Presence begins in the now, in the way you listen without thinking about your response, in how you eat without your phone nearby, in the glance you cast out the window just to notice the sky. It seems mundane, but it's revolutionary because the world demands rush. But the soul demands attention, and when you start giving that to yourself, you discover something that was there all along, but you were moving too fast to notice. It's in this deceleration that you rediscover what you lost without realizing. An old desire, a forgotten sensitivity, a wish to live with more truth. And when this reunion happens, you realize there's still time to change, to start over, to feel again. But this realization doesn't last forever, and that's where the danger lies, because there's a limit that no one can cross without consequences. Before it's too late. Time passes, and it passes without asking permission. What seems like discomfort today becomes regret tomorrow. Not because you made mistakes. Making mistakes is human, but because you didn't try, because you let fear decide, habit command, and the soul go silent. Carl Jung said that looking outside is dreaming, but looking inside is awakening. And what we have most of are people dreaming while awake, walking in circles, calling what is really just disguised repetition life. You're still here, and that's all you need, because being alive is the only requirement to start over. But this chance doesn't last forever. The body ages, cycles change, and what pulses today can fade away. How many times have you said, I'll deal with that later? Next week I'll resolve it? And that later never came. The problem is that the soul also gets tired of waiting, and when it goes quiet, the rest becomes an echo. So, before it's too late, stop, listen, reflect. What haven't you had the courage to change yet? What has your soul been silently begging you for? Maybe it's a new path, an honest conversation, a decision postponed for years. Life doesn't warn you when it's ending, it just continues. And the question that remains is, are you going to continue with it, or keep saying goodbye to yourself a little bit each day? Now tell me, how many more days are you going to accept living on autopilot, ignoring the soul's signals, waiting for a right moment that never comes? Everything you heard here today isn't theory. It's an invitation to awaken, to listen to that internal whisper that's been muffled for years. The question is, are you going to keep betraying yourself, or will you finally choose yourself? The world is full of people too busy to live, but you don't have to be another one. Start with small actions. Read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Sit in silence for 5 minutes a day and write what you feel, even if no one reads it. Connect with people who lift you up and flee from those who drain your energy. You don't need ready-made answers, you just need to start listening to yourself. So, what's it going to be? If this touched you, if it made sense somewhere inside, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Here, we don't pretend everything's okay, we seek the truth. And if you want to take the next step now, watch this video right here. It's the continuation of this awakening. See you there.